All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, this video is about demand. Now, if you were in class, we went over this first um, and then supply. But the thing is, I forgot these videos. So, if you look at the list of the videos I have, it actually comes supply first and now demand. I thought I made them, but I guess I didn't, so I do apologize for that. So let's begin with this lesson. So here's the warm-up. Um, Basically, first thing off, as always, what do you see? Okay, look at the background, look at what's being said, things like that, and break it down. What do you see? Second question is, what do you think this artist is trying to say? So use all that you see in the picture, what's being said by the people, what's that little piece of paper above their head, what it says, and the big thing in the road. You know, put that all together. What do you think this artist is trying to say? Okay. So once you finish with that, go ahead and prepare yourself for the notes. Okay. So demand is basically the desire, ability, and willingness to buy a product. Now, we talked about wants and needs in the other videos and in class. We talked about wants and needs at the very beginning of economics. Um, and the thing is, a need, there's three essential needs, right? There's food, there's clothing, and there's shelter, right? Those are really the true essential needs. Now, water does go and ties in with food, but you know, but yeah, it's food, shelter, clothing. Okay, those are needs. Everything else is basically a want. Now, again, I've explained this in the videos as well, but just a little refresher. Let's say you want a clothing, a shirt that's like made by some designer. That becomes a want. You know, a need is basically the cheapest thing that it'll do the job. Um, but not like designer names. They have to wait something way more expensive than what it really costs to make and things like that. Um, that's when it becomes a want. Now, just wanting something doesn't make it a demand. You have to fill those three criteria. You have to have the desire, you have to have the ability, and the willingness. So, let's say, I always like to bring these out, my little pop figures, okay? Um, it becomes a demand. It's like, I have the desire for them. I want them, okay? That checks off that. Do I have the ability to buy them? Yes, I do. All right. And then it comes to the willingness. So for the price they're asking for on this particular one, am I willing to separate myself from that money to buy it? If yes, then it becomes a demand. But if I'm like, I'll wait till it gets cheaper, then it's not a demand. It becomes a want. Okay. So again, it has to fill those three criteria. All right. Microeconomics is dealing with behaviors and decisions uh, made by small units, okay? Individuals, firms, mom and pop stores, things like that. Okay. Now, we talked about a demand or a supply schedule in the supply videos, and then here, demand schedule is the same thing. Basically, it's a listing that shows the various quantities demanded of a particular product at all prices that might prevail in the market at a given time. Okay. In order to find out what demand truly is, we're at to set up a company. We did this in class. Um, I would argue that you should really maybe ask some people in your family, someone who's around you, things like that, to help you out with this next part. Okay. Well, I guess I forgot which slide was next. I guess it'll be later on. Okay. Now remember, I forgot to mention this part. I do apologize again. Demand is when you, the people, the consumer, the buyer, you go about demand. Supply is for a person who owns a company who is producing something. Okay, so you, the consumer, which you do all the time, you're always, what should I buy? Things like that. What should I get? You are a consumer. Okay. Now, law of demand is this: the quantity demanded of a good or service varies inversely with its price. Okay, so we've talked about this in class about like the bags of chips. When you go to the store, a lot of you guys have told me how expensive they are now compared to when you were in middle school or even younger. And that's the thing. When the price is really high, you're like, you know what? I'll wait. I'll get it somewhere else. You know. And if the price is high everywhere else, you're probably more likely to be like, you know what? I'm good. I'll try something else. Maybe something cheaper. You know. And that's the thing. The price is high, the demand is low. You don't really want it. It's like, would you rather buy a little bag of chips for $15 for that little bag? Heck no, you wouldn't. So, same thing applies in the reverse. Whereas if the price is really low, you're gonna really want that thing. So let's say those bags of chips, those little bags, are selling for 10 cents on one particular day. Right? 10 cents, that's it for that one day. How many guys would buy an insanely large amount of chips? I'm sure some of you guys have $5 in your pocket and you'd be like, you know what, 10 cents a bag? Shoot, here's the $5, you know, and you would just take them. Because that's the thing, when prices are low, you really want it, and I gave you the example of people buying stuff that they really don't need just because it's cheap, right? That's part of our nature. Okay. There's other things that go into it, but we'll get to that later on in um, other lessons. Okay. Now, people say time and time again that they would buy more of an item if the price goes down. They're like, oh yeah, I would get this, but dang, it's expensive. You hear that all the time. It's human nature. It really is that we buy more when prices are low. Okay, so this picture that you see to your right, that is a great picture to remember price and demand when it comes to consumers, you and me and everyone else. Price is high, you're not going to want it. Price is low, everybody's going to want it. Okay. All right, now this is the part where I thought this was going to be the next set of that previous slide. Basically, what you're going to need to do is if you're at home or maybe you're in class, I don't know where you may be, think of something that is truly needed in your neighborhood, your town, things like that, and put the name on there somewhere. Now, you'll see like 5 different spots on that chart. What you're going to do in your paper is basically put different prices from low to high or high to low. I don't care how you do it. Okay, just as long as it's consistent. Went from $0 to $1,000. Don't be going zero, $5, $10,000, $3. No, don't be doing that. Go in order. Okay, and it asks people at this price, how much would you get of this thing, whatever it is. You know. So if let's say you think I'm making a hamburger place at $15, how many burgers would you buy? And then start going down. $10, $8, $4, $2. And see how many people would buy, and then calculate it and then put it on the graph. P is the price, Q is quantity, the number, the amount. Okay, so ask whomever's around to help you out with that, and you will see a pattern to this. It makes a distinct look. All right, so you should have finished. If you didn't, you should really pause and then complete that section. But the thing is, you see this. The demand curve shows that the quantity demanded at each and every price that might prevail in the markets. So we use this example in class, the Six Flags. You know how many people would buy a ticket. Um, Hopefully you thought of something better than that. But when you look at the graph, what did you learn from it? Okay, so really look at it. Hopefully you did it. Hopefully you asked some people around you and they gave you some good answers. Okay, so there's that question. What did you learn from the graph? Okay, now this is one of my favorite topics. Not just because there's a picture of pizza there. You know, I love pizza, but that's not it. Diminishing marginal utility. This is interesting stuff. Okay, so basically it's like this. The satisfaction you get from something uh, is at its peak from the very beginning. But when you keep adding more and more to it, the product starts to diminish. The satisfaction you get from it diminishes. So think of like a great example is like when you are starving for some food, whatever it may be. I don't care if it's pizza, if it's Chinese food, if it's a specific type of burger, or your abuelita's arroz con leche, or I mean, I don't care what it is, whatever it may be. Think of something that you really, really like, and you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to have it. Imagine that first bite, that first taste. How amazing is it? You know, you're like to the roof, right? Now, as time goes on, and we're talking still within the sitting time of it. Let's say an hour and a half, whatever it is. You for an hour and a half you are constantly eating it. Okay, is that bite or that taste you take an hour and a half after you take that first one? Is it gonna taste just as good as that first one? The answer is no. It's not. Because at first it was like you hadn't had it, you're starving for it, you want it so bad, and then as time goes on, you're like, okay, all right, that's good. And you keep going and going, it's not gonna taste anywhere as much as good as it was from the beginning. Okay. Think of like if some of you guys are gamers. Think of a game that you were like, oh my God, I can't wait to play this. Oh, it looks great, looks amazing. You get it, you play it, the first 3 hours, 4 hours, and you're like, God, this is so great. What happens when you get to the 25th hour, 40th hour of playing that game? Is it going to be as fun as the first time? And it's not, because that's the thing. Your anticipation is so high at the beginning, and then as you keep playing, it just starts to die down. Same thing with the food. It goes down. Okay. Um, so the thing says, what happens when you take too much of something you will like too quickly? We just answered that part. Okay. All right, so I did a quick check, and basically that's the end of this video. Um, so once you answer that question, you're done with class, you're done with these notes, and hopefully you learned something new. Okay, so this is just part one of demand. The next part's coming up pretty soon. So again, hopefully you learned something. I really do hope you did. You did, and be sure when you go into class, you turn in your notes to the black basket by the door. And please, please make sure your name's on it. Okay, your first name, your last name, and the period and day. Okay, please, guys, put that on there. All right. So that's it. That's the lesson. And you guys have a good day. All right. So take care. Be safe.